All right, so we're totally excited for this one. Cowboys game plan. I'm Mike. That's Slater. Please like and subscribe to the videos. Keep our subscriber count moving up. It's been fantastic, the growth over the couple of weeks. We'll take that all day. So tomorrow, Thursday night football, we've got the Detroit Lions. We're 1-1 with this team over the past couple of years. A lot of controversy in the games with the skipper issue, and then last year we took them on at AT&T, pretty banged up, down some key players, and kind of split the difference there. So epic game, a lot on the stake for a lot at stake for both teams. Really excited about it. Slater, how do you feel going into this game in Detroit?
Yeah, like you said, there's a lot at stake here. You got the 6-5-1 Dallas Cowboys going against the 7-5 Detroit Lions here, and it is one of these games where both teams, again, their season's on the line, right?
Right.
Everyone's been talking about, how Dallas's season's been on the line since we walked into this stretch, already being behind the eight ball with dropping our losses to Chicago Bears and the Carolina Panthers. And Dallas is on a good run right here. They've won 3 games in a row coming off the bye since post trade deadline of acquiring Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson and getting some key players back like DeMar and Overshown, getting your rookie to play Ravel, and still working on even getting guys back like Trayvon Diggs. You've got your safety backs or your safeties back too.
Yeah.
What the what the biggest thing is the Cowboys have a huge advantage in this game because of the injuries and the rough run that the Detroit Lions are having. Without getting too much into it, because I know we'll break it down, the Detroit Lions are on a very downhill spiral right now, and it's due to a combination of things. You have things like injuries, and you have things like they're not getting as much magic in their plays as they were before with like Ben Johnson and stuff. And it may not even just be little things as a play caller, difference, but they're not having that same kind of spark in their plays. Dan
Right.
Campbell has been a lot more aggressive on fourth down as he's been in years past, and it's kind of bit them in the bud because they're not converting them like they were in years past. And so this 7-5 Detroit Lions team knows what's on the line, which is their season, and Dallas knows what's on the line too because it's their season too. Because what this is going to come down to is that tiebreaker. When you're looking at big picture, when you're looking at playoff picture, we don't have the playoff picture against the Carolina Panthers or the Chicago Bears, whether they win their division or not. And then if we get this one against Detroit, at least you know that you're going to be above them no matter what, if your record ties or whatever it is at that point.
Yeah. Absolutely. So the team's still really, really scary despite all the injuries and hiccups they're
Mm-hmm.
having. I I've heard a lot of talk, and Dallas is getting a lot of praise as one of the hottest, scarier teams in the league right now. It only takes one misstep for that to change. Yeah, Dallas is getting hot at the right time. It's the perfect time to get hot. It's like one of the old New York Giants teams. They win six straight going out the back door, and they sneak into the playoffs. And the next thing they're taking teams down every week. I do not by any means overlook this Detroit Lions team. A lot of the players, aside from Amon Ra, have already been out. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like they're just out now. Laporta's been out a while. Their secondary has had some injuries that have already been dealt with, and their linemen are getting a little more banged up this week. But they're still a very scary and productive team that puts points on the board no matter what they're rolling out there, out of their depth chart. So it's just going to be one of those things where what Dallas cannot do is what it's done 2 weeks in a row is immediately put itself in a hole and have to play damn near perfect football the rest of the game to have a chance to win. And they did win, but that was at home. This is a different environment. So there's a lot that can still challenge them having success. And it's like, if we can observe that as fans, me and you sitting here having a conversation, we know what our offense is good at. We've seen what our defense can do, but these are pro level coaches and scouts and players who have the same mental capacity to understand what's happening as we do. So it's like, what can we expect from Dallas knowing that team is preparing for our ability to run play action pass? We're at 78% completion with Dak out of play action passes. That's crazy. Everybody's talking about the pick and slant, which I told you earlier was what, the playmaker Michael Irvin used in the 90s to have their Super Bowl run. It was the play that they knew was coming, and they still
Hmm.
couldn't stop it. Do you expect that there's going to be variations to the key plays and the key play action pass script that we've been running in anticipation for the disguises that Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions' defense is going to try to throw at us to maybe lure a mistake out of Dak? I know they're going to give him a lot of pressure, but do you think, because they like to keep three linebackers on the field, so they're definitely going to be throwing darts at Dak all day, hoping that we can catch they can catch a 50-50 break. But do you think that Schottenheimer is going to prepare for that scenario?
It all depends on how Dallas runs the ball. The key part to this offense is Javonte Williams, and it has been all year. And I've talked about this before, but any game that Javonte Williams does not run well in, or you're not getting that 3 to 4 yards on that stumbling and bumbling he does, you put yourself in a little bit of a predicament because Dak Prescott plays really well, like you said, off that play action, and you get those slant combinations from Pickens or CeeDee Lamb because of being able to back up that defense or put more people in the box, forcing a more one-on-one matchups. So,
Sure.
talking about that, I expect, like you said, with the three linebackers that the Detroit Lions like to put inside the box, I expect Dan Campbell's team to be physical and try to stop the run and say, Dak Prescott, you're going to have to beat us. And again, if that's the case, I mean, I like my odds in it because Dak Prescott is playing almost MVP caliber right now. He
Right.
is on fire. He's generating drives. He's being able to find his guys, and he knows the weapons he has. I still think that time that CeeDee Lamb was out was a huge boost between him and Pickens' relationship and understanding how to throw that deep ball to him and how to get those slants to him or where to place that ball on him. Because I think if CD's
Sure.
still out there during that little bit of a time period, it may be still fluid now, but it's a whole different level because of depending on George Pickens as your wide receiver one. Now, the other thing I'll point out is let's say they do the opposite. Let's say they decide to take a backer out the box and they're going to put extra help on our wide receivers. Our offensive line needs to be physical. They have to handle Aiden Hutchinson. They have to get to those linebackers and they have to force them to get back to putting people inside the box and hurt them with Javonte Williams. It's been a while since we've kind of had a big Javonte Williams game. He's been consistent, right? We're getting 70, 80 yards
Yeah,
out of him a
for
game.
sure. Yeah.
But it's been a while since we kind of seen Javonte hit over 100 yards and 2 TDs or something like that to kind of show that dominance of his running style. He's a very physical runner, and I think that kind of plays a huge part in kind of the game plan.
But we've been playing from behind a lot though too.
Yes.
2 games in a row we've come out and put ourselves down 7 immediately,
Yep.
which turns it into a play action pass off of the run, but more pass than run. I think if we
Yep.
came out and jumped into a lead, that would really help kind of flip that script a little bit. And until we do that, yeah, you're right. We're only gonna run when we need to run just to keep them honest.
Yeah, and that's something Schottenheimer's been very good at as of recently, and especially showed in these past 2 games. Is even when you're down, he's found a way to keep the game plan. Right? He's not
Right.
all of a sudden getting away from everything like you kind of saw in like Chicago, and even I really point out Chicago because that's what I think of on top of my head, or even Denver, right? Where all of a sudden you're down by 14 or you're down by 21 and you scratch the run, you're just going to be like, Dak Prescott, we got to drop back 40 to 50 times today and we're going to have to throw it out. And that's just not the style of offense that our Cowboys need to run. We have to have a running presence. No matter how much you're down, you need to run the ball and at least if they decide to back off, that's awesome because Javonte's going to get 6 to 7 yards. They're going to have to put somebody in the box. They
Yeah, I
cannot
agree.
do it.
I don't think they can do both.
Yeah.
I
You
don't
can't,
think
you
they
got to
can.
choose. What do you
Yeah, I don't
want?
think they can shut us
Yeah.
down in the run and lock us down in passing.
Yeah,
They may do one or the other occasionally, but they're not going to make us one dimensional. But they are a very, very physical football team. So
yes,
that does concern me a little bit. We've been physical at times, but can we just out want a team and just beat a team up in order to exert dominance that we need to exert offensively and defensively tomorrow?
yeah. It's a Dan Campbell coach team. You know how he is.
Sure.
His opening press conference was about talking about buying kneecaps, and every time he gets on the podium, he's always aggressive. I mean, that's just the way they're coached. So I expect a
Yeah.
very aggressive, physical, all heart team going out there, knowing that their
Yeah.
season's on the line.
I just
But
hope that our coaching staff is really looking at this as, you know, everything you don't expect to happen is exactly what they're going to try to do. You
exactly.
know, there's going to be delayed blitzes. They're going to throw cornerback blitzes. They're going to run that exact delayed blitz that the Chiefs ran against us on the opening drive on Thanksgiving Day. That worked to perfection. They're going to do that. They're going to do everything that nobody else has tried or has tried and has success with against our offense. And, you know, like you said, they're aggressive on fourth downs. They will run fakes on kicks and punts. They will onside kick it. And we have been susceptible to those things even this year. And I'm not still convinced that the experiences we had versus running games earlier this year won't reemerge tomorrow. We have to have Quinnen, Osa's, and Kenny Clark Superman's best games tomorrow. Because even playing at a high level, Jameer Gibbs is a problem just with the speed at which he makes his transition through the offensive line. So those are some of my concerns, um, about it just at just a top level. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
the offense has the potency to be effective for us.
yeah. Yeah, you've got Sonic and Knuckles over there. That's what they call him, right? I mean, and
Yeah,
obviously for a reason. Jameer Gibbs, who is lightning fast, and he's kind of a bruiser bag too, just a little bit. He'll hurt you, man. And David
yeah,
Montgomery, you get near that goal line, it's hard to tackle him. He's like Javonte Williams, right? He's just a guy who gets downhill and he's going to run you over. The biggest thing is too, and this is another thing. Even if Amon-Ra St. Brown's out, let's not count out Jamison Williams. The guy went
no,
crazy last
sure.
week on Thanksgiving when Amaral went down. He was getting some good catches and running some good routes. He's fast. He's basically their version of a George Pickens. You know, he's a
You
little
can't
bit lighter.
overlook anybody on this
Yeah,
team. And I hope the
especially
coaching staff does not either. That's my biggest takeaway in this podcast is coaches, you have to expect them to do everything within their power
yep.
to trick you, and beat you.
Yeah, we got to show up and handle business. And I do not think, and in the Chiefs game we didn't do it, but you cannot do what you did against Philly. Don't go down 14-0 against this team. They will find a
No.
way to capitalize on it because Dan Campbell and them, they can run the ball, and that's what hurts you, right?
Right.
We've been very fortunate at stopping the run because of the interior that we've added in our health at the linebacker position again. So being able to stop the run has really helped prevent teams on chewing the clock out against us or extending drives even longer and getting into third and twos, third and ones where it's real easy to convert and you burn another couple minutes off the clock. But I really think that our secondary just needs to communicate. The biggest thing is I can see the trickery already. They've already tried it. They tried even with Ben Johnson not there. They're going to try their trickery. They're going to try their trick plays. They're going to try anything they can to get the upper hand on Dallas. They did it last year against us. Does anyone remember the blowout that we had to suffer through? The 47 points. They put Dan Skipper out there at wide
Yeah.
receiver just to mentally remember
Remind us
that
of
Dallas.
2023. Yeah.
Yeah, like
And we
Dallas,
were beat
remember
up.
that.
And we were beat up. So
Yeah.
just saying, I don't want to hear any. Well, we didn't have Amon-Ra. We don't have Laporta. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Not even gonna phase
Dallas,
it.
show up and tell them what you remember,
Yeah.
okay? And last year they put a whooping on you. They embarrassed you. They were throwing passes to their linemen.
They're
It's
running up the
time.
score. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
here's how I think this is going to go offensively. It's going to go one of two ways. Dallas is going to come out strong, take
yep,
control of the time of possession, have running success, punch it in for a touchdown, and it's going to go back and forth. And we're either going to stay 3 to 7 points ahead, and we'll eventually smother them out in the fourth quarter, right? Or it's going to go the opposite way where there's penalties on both teams. It's messy, it's ugly. We're productive, but every time we start to have momentum, they're going to throw something at us that they haven't thrown at us yet. A wrinkle, a different blitz, a trick play, or
yep,
something like that that's going to kill our momentum or even keep them in the game. If that's the kind of game we want to play or that we play, I don't like it. That's what they want. They know that, they've kind of got a hand behind their tied behind their back here. and they've got to use something to equal out the odds here. Because if we just come in and play us versus them with no issues or turnovers or anything like that, we're more powerful. We're a stronger team. We should win that game. So they have to be prepared for the unexpected here. One more thing on the offense, and I'll throw it back to you. What do
Yeah.
you think of the addition of the new Izzy, the new running back? What do you
I
think that's about? How do you feel about that? I mean, he's got good film, and I like his run style. I would really like to see him in a game behind this offense and what he can do because he's built like Javante, but he's just a little bit faster.
Yeah, I've seen some really good reviews about him, especially from his draft profile. I think that's what a lot of people are relating that to.
Yeah,
My biggest thing is until Malik Davis really slows down or gets cold, I'm okay with what we got out there. I know Shoddy and them are carrying two running backs and Luthi being that third running back at the moment. Plus,
right.
that no matter what happens here, even if Malik Davis slows down, they're probably going to put Jadon Blue out there. But I think it's a good addition. I mean, at the end of the day, it's always good to keep talent on your practice squad and even inactive players. It's always good to keep talent on your roster just for when that
Sure.
moment comes. Because if, let's say,
Yeah.
Malik Davis goes down for an injury and then Jadon Blue gets promoted, it's a battle between them two again. So at the end of the day, Izzy could take that job depending on what happens. But I think it's good depth.
Yeah, so you think Abanaconda is just insurance for the stretch here, and if we do
Yeah.
make a playoff push, we've got some experienced depth on the chart that can come in and play at an NFL level as a professional to help relieve some of the carries and weight from Javante, or should something happen,
Yeah.
we got a guy who knows how to come into an NFL game and play. Where Malik Davis can as well, but that would only leave us with two running backs effectively. So
Yeah.
anything else on offense for Dallas or Detroit that you can think of that's significant in this game? We know we got a lot of injuries for well Detroit does. Dallas looks like they're coming in full strength. I don't think anybody on the offense aside from Tyler Guyton, who we're already
Hmm.
aware of, is going to be out for this game. So there's really no excuse for Dallas to have offensive struggles unless they generate them themselves.
No, but we didn't talk about Jared Goff much. Do you
Yeah, we're
think?
going to talk. Yeah, we're going
Okay.
to talk about Detroit's offense as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Kick it off.
Let's
Kick it off. Go
Okay.
for it.
Yeah, when we start thinking about Detroit's offense and to start talking about Jared Goff here, what do you think is the biggest key to slowing him down? And is it, we've faced in the past 3 weeks, we faced Geno Smith, a little mobility but really bad offensive line. Then you played Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, which was a banged up offensive line, and the Chiefs were a banged up offensive line. The only difference between the two quarterbacks there was Mahomes has the magic, the mobility and the magic, right? Hurts has the mobility, but he's more of like roll out the pocket and then start hitting that sideline trying to get as much yards as he can. We did a really good job at keeping him in the pocket, but when it comes to Goff, he's not much of a mobile guy. Are you sending more of like inside stunts, or is it still trying to keep that edge contained and
This
then
is a
keep him in the
yeah. This
pocket?
isn't yeah. This is an edge contained game.
Okay.
This is run right up the middle. Try to keep him from being able to step up. And due to what he's going to use his offensive weapons for, there's probably going to be times where we could have both of those running backs out there at the same time as a dump off into the flat. So I don't really think we need to over pursue. I'll tell you like this. This is how my logic applies this. If you
Yeah.
look at how much we've made contact with quarterbacks the last 3 weeks who are mobile, just off of rushing four, there's no reason with a chipped up offensive line and a relatively immobile quarterback who, although releases the ball quite quickly, we should be able to get to him without doing too much exotic. So if we don't have to bring extra guys into the box to attack him, that should slow down how much he can really sling the ball out of there because we're going to have good coverage. But
Yeah.
the key to this is having our ends be very aware of what's going on, and we are down Jadavion. So that's concerning because that is a tall, lengthy, experienced vet on the end.
Yeah.
Just the capacity to like interfere and get in the way of the passing lane to a potential flat. Because that's what I'm thinking. We may contain him very well, get pressure up the middle very well, and cover very well. But if nobody's head's on a swivel and one of those backs leaks out to the flat and he just dumps it off over the defensive lineman, we've got to make up 10 yards to try to funnel him and tackling. So
Yeah.
those are the things that are concerning me. So this is definitely a defensive ends game, and we need a really, really good performance from whoever they put out there. What was the second half of that question?
Oh man, I'm blanking now. I got so deep in thought of how what. But let me put it this way.
Yeah,
So when it comes to Javion Clowney, first off, that's a great call out. He is a very big hustle guy, and with him
yeah.
potentially, he ruled out.
I'm pretty sure that
Okay.
he's
Well, if
he's
let's say he doesn't play, we're gonna act like he's
right,
out right now. If
right.
he's out, that's huge because he's a really big hustle play guy. If you ever watch his film, he's always chasing down the field. Let's say even if it's a 10-yard pass, he still somehow ends up being a part of that tackle. Like it's crazy.
Yeah,
And even with like the sacks and rolling out the pocket, he's always chasing people. Now when it comes to the flats and running backs leaking out and stuff like that, we've struggled with that. I mean, there's been multiple times
yes,
during the past couple games where you see Saquon in the flats getting a couple yards, and it's going to be a big challenge because I think Matt Eberflus, whether it's a part of the scheme or not, is trusting his linebackers to catch those leak outs and then use their speed in that angle to get downhill and make that tackle for 1 to 2 yards. Like it's like Eberflus is saying, I trust my 4 to 5 man front. I know my secondary is not going to let anything behind them, unlike before. But now I need to trust my linebackers to stay dropped so nothing happens in those middle zones. But they're going to have to come play downhill because I'm forcing my corners to be back a little bit to make sure those routes or the short routes happen and not the deep routes.
yeah.
So
Just
yeah.
just to clarify real quick, Guyton is out,
Okay.
Diggs is out. Um, I know that Jadavion, I think he missed a practice, maybe two, and he was listed as limited. He didn't have any full
Okay.
practices this week. He's questionable, but out of all the ones that are on the injury report, he's the one I'm most concerned about because
Yeah.
he looks the most injured. I mean, he was literally limping after Thanksgiving. So I'm concerned about that because although Sam Williams' production has increased pretty well, it's because of the rotation. Sam Williams is excellent at pass rushing. He is not great at ball defense, at running the ball defense. So he's
So
not a
could
run stopper. So
Do you think we could see more of maybe the Osa, Kenny Clark, and Quentin Williams out there as three with an extra end, or do you expect to see more Sam Houston and James, or not Sam Houston, Sam Williams and James Houston kind of sharing that role while Dante Flower gets and Ezeraku and Flowers
no,
sharing the
that's
other
that's
side?
a great question, and I'll answer it. The way I would coach this is this team is very physical. They play with a lot of heart. They're not going to give up easy. So even if you beat them up the whole first half, you can't kick back and relax the rest of the game. So what you're going to have to do is keep those guys rotating in. That's
Yeah.
essential. And I would rather have all of my guys fresh for the entire game. Keep it as we've been doing. Keep two tackles in, and then rotate the defensive ends, and work it that way. Just like we have all since we got Quinton essentially.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason to keep all three of them out there at the same time. Could we do it occasionally? Sure, that makes sense. But I say keep them rotated, keep them fresh, and keep rotating our defensive ends just like we have all season. But if something were to happen where it's effective and that's what we have to do to stop these two premier running backs from, gashing us despite ourselves, then that's what we got to do. But I would prefer to just do what we've been doing, keep the same defense out there that we've had out there, and just perform well on offense and make them come beat us. So my
Yeah.
question to you as a follow up is, with that being said, how do you feel about the linebackers? What kind of rotation would you like to see? Who would you like to see start the game? And who do you think's more effective for this particular game and what we're dealing with from Detroit's backfield?
It's been super interesting because it's been the Overshown and Kenneth Murray kind of show, right? And then Logan
Right.
Wilson eventually rotates in, and then they have Shamir James as like the fourth option there. But when you're looking at this linebacker core, obviously Overshown has to be out there. The
100%.
speed alone is what's really crucial, and his size and his football smarts because he makes some really great plays the past couple games. Kenneth Murray and Logan Wilson, it's interesting because Logan Wilson has the brain, the great tackling, the ability to be there, but the
Right.
only advantage Kenneth Murray has is again the speed. So maybe it depends on what running backs out there. Maybe it depends on what kind of set is out there. But it's one of those things where I think to start the game you probably stick to what you've been doing, and I hate to say it, but Kenneth Murray and Overshown, and eventually you kind of see how that plays out after the first drive. If Murray is not keeping up with Gibbs, or if Murray's just not seeing the ball right that day, then it's time to get Logan Wilson in there, and you're willing to take that step, maybe that step slower disadvantage that you may begin for the ability to make up for not going right instead of left, and stuff like that, and being able to flow to the ball better. I guess that makes sense, and like fill holes
No,
within the
100%.
tackles and stuff like that.
Yeah, ideally, I would like to see Logan Wilson kind of control the middle,
Yeah,
between the hashes and just kind of own that zone, and then leave Overshown free to roam and run down anything to the borders,
yeah,
and just kind of flow it that way. And I'd like to see it be behind Quinnen and Osa with Clowney and Ezaraku. That's what I would like to see, and I'd prefer it be Bland, Chavone, and man, at this point, we had a conversation the other day, and you convinced me. I like Kalen Carson. He's our guy.
yeah,
He's a Dallas guy, but I really like the way Reddy's been playing, and I think
yeah.
his skill set particularly works well for this game because he's rowdy bowdy, man. He does not care, and I like that, and I think we need that tomorrow. We need everybody to come in and be like, "This is the last game we're ever gonna play," because that's what Detroit's gonna bring. They're at home.
Yeah.
They do not want to get beat by the Dallas Cowboys in Detroit. We know that. So we have to come in and dominate them both physically and game plan wise. I'm not sure that both are possible, but it's going to take everything we've got. This is going to have to be a master class. And we don't have to have this game, but we have to have this game. We need this game for a number of reasons. So that's the way I see the defense right now. I don't know if you agree or if you would like to see a different rotation, but that's what I
No,
would like to see. I think we need to keep players who have less experience and who have been challenged a little more so far. Maybe Bridges and Kalen. Let's minimize their exposure.
hmm
And maybe get some of our flyers out there a little bit. Like to see Luafel, maybe come in and throw some blitzes around and do
it's
some
been a while
exotic
since we've
stuff.
seen him.
Yeah, I mean he comes out on the NASCAR package. He does come out
Yeah,
when it's an obvious blitz and we're sending the house. He comes in off of that edge.
yeah,
This is a right-handed team. They like to run to the right or off the right A or B gap or
hmm
bounce it to the outside. Have you watched any of the film?
I've watched a very little this week because of it being
Yeah.
a short week and being a
Yeah, they
full
like
time
to
employee like
counter a
we've been for.
lot, so they
Yeah.
like to bounce it back, and I think that's due to just good vision from the running backs and great acceleration.
Okay.
So, man, despite what people say, banged up or not, this is a team that you have to respect.
Yeah,
But so is Dallas.
yeah, and I to kind of bounce back a little bit on your secondary rotation. I just we that conversation sparked because we were talking about Trayvon Diggs coming back, right? And it's like, what do
Right.
you do with Trayvon Diggs to this rotation? And you and I were talking about do we put Bland back in the nickel and you put Trayvon back out there? And then I countered with, I really like Reddy Stewart just because of the physicality he brings. And on the run plays, he is not scared to get downhill and just hit somebody and fill the hole that, maybe the safety's coming onto or
and
whatever.
tackle.
And he blitzes all the time. Like if you see him,
Yeah,
he's trying to time out those blitzes and all
yeah,
that. But I think, and this is my question for you, but I'm going to answer it here first. When it comes to
sure.
Trayvon Diggs, I love the
Yeah,
player. I own like two jerseys. Like I love the number 7. Trayvon Diggs is my guy. Um, I think when he comes back, though, you need to kind of rotate him in, make sure the knee's healthy, make sure that everything's good with him. And then again, he kind of is the hot. It's all about that hot hand at cornerback too. Just like we talk about running back too for Malik Davis, he's the hot hand. It's the same thing at cornerback too. Unless an injury happens to Bland or Ray Stewart, I think you just play whoever's best to suit the role. Whether it's Ravel, whether it's Diggs, whether it's Kalen Carson, whether it's Butler eventually, or whoever. But I think that you feel really good about Bland and Stewart and then Malik Hooker and then Donovan Wilson and Overshone and then your 3D tackles, and you feel really good about Ezeraku. And you kind of have a couple like hot hand spots with the defense. The
sure.
offense, I don't know. I'm gonna bounce to the other side here. I mean, it's all like really the offense is solidified. It's all about that wide receiver 3. Whoever's the high hand. But we've seen Flournoy to prove that there.
Yeah, I would like to see him even throw some additional while you're on offense. I like to see him
Yeah.
throw something new out there as well. Maybe add some extra options on the routes that we've been tearing people up with so far, just to make them think twice about jumping a route. On that slant, maybe you could, crank it the other way and run for the sideline and throw the ball that way. I don't write plays. I don't make plays. I don't create plays. I don't know if that's even possible.
What?
But in my mind, if you can run a hitch route, you can change directions on a route, right? So just do
Yeah.
some things to make them, not be so sure that they know what we're gonna do. And I know there's hidden options that can be turned on and flipped inside of these play designs. I have full faith in Schottenheimer. And Pickens himself said that he has a release for any attempt they have to deprive him of his precious football. So I wish them luck. Hopefully, Dak can stay relatively clean. I think that's going to be the biggest part. I think that they're smart enough to know that if the ball is thrown, they have a disadvantage, a significant
Yeah.
disadvantage. So the easiest way to nip this in the bud is to get to Dak. If you get to Dak early and you get him off his timing, just like any quarterback, even the great ones, Tom Brady didn't like getting hit either. Mahomes doesn't like going into the grass either. So, if you get him uncomfortable early, you're going to have a better chance of getting a turnover. So it's just going to be about playing smooth on offense and doing what we know and being prepared. On the
Yeah.
defense and the topic of Trayvon, and I'll let you have it.
Yeah.
If you look at Trayvon, if he's healthy and he wants to play the game of football, he is the most talented cornerback on the team. Would you agree?
I would agree.
That's assuming everything we said is true.
Yeah.
Um, and I think if he's available and you feel good about his health and you feel good about his game objectivity, I can't see a reason you don't play the most talented guy on your team. So something has not clicked, whether it's mental or physical. There's a reason. Maybe it's because, like you said, the level and size of this game and how important it is to both teams. That for someone who's had been off to a rough start after the injury and is coming off of concussion protocol, let alone IR, then maybe this is just not the best game to bring them back in. But I agree. If next week, if he's healthy and good to go, man, I think it's Ravel, Bland, and Trayvon Diggs are your starting cornerbacks, and then you have Kalen and Reddy after that. But I'm excited about this game, man. This is going to
I
be a
know.
really really good one. I have a feeling this is going to be another good game. But my key to victory for this game is going to be field position.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because we need to have the ability to score quick. So Turpin has to have a very, very good game. We need to be to the 40 as often as possible so that we can do minimal amount of work to get within field goal range. And on the adverse of that, we need to keep their field position minimal because their running backs are so good that if they get in within the 40, all it takes is one missed tackle for them to score from anywhere without even throwing the ball. I don't know if Amon Ra doesn't play that they're going to have a ton of success throwing the ball unless they can find a way to throw it over the top to Jamison Williams, which is a back of my mind concern, assuming we don't have a pass rush tomorrow. But those are the two most important things. Don't let them blow the top off of us with Jamison Williams, and keep them to where they have to have long running drives to even get into scoring range.
Yeah. I love that. I think my key to victory here is going to be communication within our defense, and I say
Sure.
that as like I said earlier, the Lions always do it to us, man. But the trick plays, the crossing routes, whatever it may be, we just need to make sure that we're communicating and understanding our assignment on the defensive side of the ball. Don't allow any easy points on these guys. Make them earn every point. If they earn an eight minute drive and they get 7 points out of it, so be it. But I'd rather do that than some trick play where I guarantee you we'll probably see a flea flicker tomorrow or a fourth down where it's, the tackle rolling off of it and,
Or
catching the
some
ball. But
crazy reverse.
yeah, I mean, we're gonna see it this season. The Detroit, if they start to feel the pressure of what Dallas is putting on them, they're gonna have to because their season's on the line. So is Dallas. So if you put the pressure on them, expect a trick play. Look for something that's gonna deceive you,
Whatever
and
you
make
think
sure
they're
that we're
gonna do, they're not
communicating.
gonna do. You know,
The only other thing I do want to talk about is how do you feel about this since we have this awesome D tackle roster? Is interior versus like the pass rush pressure. Like, have you noticed a difference? Is that what's really helping us out? Is our interior pressure against these quarterbacks? And do you think it'll have an effect on Goff?
I think when you take away, and I believe this that you know a quarterback has to look forward
Yeah,
and they have to have clear lanes and to be able to see what's going on. They expect pressure to be coming from their front, physical front, and from behind them. Just the way that the line naturally curves into a pocket, right?
yeah,
That's expected. What they do not expect is having a giant man running right at their eyeball eyes, right? Right at their eyeball eyes, right? So whenever
hmm,
that happens, any person has a physical and mental reaction to a threat like that. You're walking down the street and some dude's sprinting directly into your eye face. It's going to cause you to make decisions, right? And I think that knowing that you're trapped, you've got guys coming right in front of you, and that in front of you and behind you, there's nowhere to escape to. So you can either go down, take the hit, or throw a prayer. And I
yeah,
think that's kind of what's happened this year. At the beginning of the year, we had good this, but the quarterback had good straight ahead. He could step up, cut left of the center, cut right of the center, extend the play, throw a nice pass, or run it for a first down. Uh, if they had the ability to do that, I don't think he does time and time again. He may get away with it once, and then we will remedy that from happening again. But I think when he has a throwing lane to step up in, that gives him an advantage. So I would say uh, that's the way I look at it. I like having right in front of the quarterback, hands in his face, I'm about to hit you pressure, rather
yeah.
than pressure off the ends, specifically because of who his running backs are.
Well, it seems like you can also control edge blitzers a little bit more by sending extra help with tight ends, running backs, and
Chip
stuff like
in,
that.
yeah,
Unlike interior pressure, where if someone coming up the middle and your
it
running back
happens.
isn't like a wall, yeah, and isn't like ready to be that wall. Like we've seen Javonte Williams handle inside pressure like crazy. He just gets ran over basically, or he pops the
Right,
dude back. Like it's a sacrifice 50-50 chance there.
right.
And but edge rushers, you can cut them. You can push them off to the right, push them off to the left. You can put a tight end to chip them, and so it's kind of interesting because really, honestly, Dallas has been fortunate, right? We had the best pass rusher in the league for the past 3 years and or 4 years, and now you have one of the best interior defensive tackles for 3 games, and you kind of see the difference, and you understand what interior pressure versus pass rush pressure can be. So I just thought it was interesting.
So who do you? So let me. I know we're getting ready to wrap up, but I just thought of something. You've got
Yeah.
Aiden Hutchinson, who's obviously a problem.
Yep.
Obviously, that's a big matchup for our line. But then you've got our other tackle, our right tackle. See if you can think in my way of thinking. Knowing Dak's running play action, which which side has to have more success, the left or the right?
I'm gonna say the left with Nate Thomas over there.
Okay.
I think the only reason I say that is even though Dak is right-handed and likes to bootleg that way, I think you can take the advantage of maybe when Hutchinson's on steal to roll away from it. But I can also say that you have an advantage going to the right because if you chip Hutchinson and help steal out, you may have an advantage on what the defensive coverage way may be leaning. I don't know. It's kind of a
Yeah,
trick question. I like it
it
though.
is. It is. But I like the waggle. I like having the waggle side have success.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to not end up in the situation he did where he threw that little dump pass to Javante versus the Chiefs, where he was oohing and ahhing trying to find a crease to get out and just throw a little bubble. But to have a nice clean waggle out to the right on a designed bootleg, knowing that pressure's coming from that side. Like you said, you send Javante as a chip or a tight end as a chip over there to lend a hand, and Dak can just roll away from the pressure, and that creates what would have been 2.5 seconds. It gives you 3.5 seconds, to potentially get the ball downfield. So I would prefer that both guys have a clean game and be effective. It's probably an
Yeah.
impossible ask, but I would rather the right tackle have more success over the course of the game than necessarily keeping Hutchinson out of the backfield all night, every play.
Yeah. No, I like it. You ready to do some score predictions?
Yeah, you go first.
I haven't kept the record this year, so I don't know if we've ever been right, honestly. I know I've personally remember mine, and it's all been overshot, and I predict Dallas to win every game, and I
It's
have
been close,
missed
though.
on
We've
that one.
we've been close. We've been within 3 or 4 points each game, if I recall.
Let's see. In Detroit, nitty gritty, we've scored at least 24 points the past 2 games or past 3 games. 24-17 Dallas.
31-27 Dallas.
I like it. I like it. I think we'll be on the higher end, but maybe on the off chance that it's more of a defensive battle with both offenses being slow.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some field goals sprinkled in here because, like what I said, I think we're going to have a good drive, and then we're going to get within the 30, and they're going to have something we weren't expecting to overload one of our tackles and guards, and we'll pay a price for that, and we'll have to kick some field goals. But I think we will have success. I just don't think they have what it's. They may be able to perform offensively. I just don't think they have what it takes defensively to keep us from doing what we do. So I think at the end of the game we'll put it away pretty easily.
Well, all I will say is if we win, man, the talks can go
The
crazy. We can
dogs
have
are
some
out.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can have some awesome conversations about what to expect from here. So I'm just anticipating, trying to be calm before the storm here. Don't want to get too
Yep.
crazy.
I hope it's a hell of a
So
game.
yeah, but Like Mike said from the beginning, if you haven't already yet and you made it to the end of this video, comment, like, subscribe. We appreciate y'all. The growth has been amazing. If you want to hear us talk about certain topics, if you have questions on what we said, or if you want to argue with us, like some Philly fans have on our shorts, you're more than welcome to. Where we will reply. And if you're a Detroit fan and you kind of come out there and put your team on the forefront, you may hear something after the game when Dallas beats them. So until next time, this is the Cowboys game plan.